This has been such a tough month. I just need to find a way to distract myself. It might make me feel better. Let's see what's on the internet. What? Ned from Try Guys cheated on his wife? Come on, I've been watching Try Guys since I was like 7 years old. I mean, his whole personality was that he loved his wife. Didn't they have a child together? Whatever. Boy in the Band did what? Why is everyone a predator nowadays? I enjoyed so many of his collaborations, and now I'll never be able to enjoy them ever again knowing what he did. Oh, right, there's also a war still going on. Man, I just can't seem to distract myself. There must be something positive, right? Oh, Dream did a face reveal. I wonder what he looks like. Oh, ew. He's ugly. Ugh, I still feel so bad. Maybe I should just watch some Netflix. What's new? Oh, that new Marilyn Monroe movie came out. I love Marilyn Monroe. I hope this movie gives an accurate representation of what an amazing and strong woman she was. And I sure do hope it doesn't grossly sexualize her and her trauma. Let's give it a watch. You know what? I don't think I want to finish this. Oh, this show seems cool. Dahmer. This one's really popular right now. I wonder what it's about. Oh, God. Hello cool kids, it's me Zezre. It's finally October, the season of the spooks, and I'm gonna be talking about some very spooky subjects. So I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like this month hasn't gotten off to a great start, which sucks because I was really looking forward to this month. And when crappy things happen in life, there are many ways in which people try to cope. And I feel like many of us have been conditioned into getting invested in other people's misfortune, because it's so easy to just forget about your own issues when you're focusing on someone else's and being so involved in their negativity. I believe this is the whole reason why cancel culture exists and why stories and shows about real life tragedies end up being so successful. Humans have been seeking entertainment from other people's sorrow for forever, and in a way my channel thrives off of making a spectacle out of these shocking or bad situations / people. I guess we just find escapism in darkness. But when we start getting so invested in these real life shitty situations, the line begins to blur between fiction and reality. There's a disconnect when it comes to realizing that these are real people going through real events, and we just kind of watch these things happen like spectators watching a sport. A great example of what I'm talking about has to be the 2 new Netflix releases that have been gaining a lot of attraction and backlash recently. And those are, of course, Dahmer and Blonde. Both of these releases are based on real events, and I'm basically just gonna give my thoughts on them, mostly my thoughts on the way that people reacted to them, and just the ethics of making a profit off of portraying these real-life tragedies. But before we get into this very dark discussion, I want to give you guys some advice. It's so easy to get caught up in all this negative news and all these disturbing adaptations of horrifying events, and because of this, we tend to forget that there are many positive aspects of life. One positive aspect to my life is Skillshare. Yes, this video is sponsored by Skillshare. Skillshare is an online learning community with tons of classes on whatever you could possibly want to learn or improve on. This past month, I have been using it non-stop, and I'm convinced that there's just about a class for everything. And new lessons keep getting released each week. For me, Skillshare is just a great way to invest in myself and grow as a person. And what I like about it is that there's such a wide variety of things that you can learn. But what's really cool is that there are so many classes that are specifically aimed at self-improvement and well-being, which is exactly what I need right now. Like this class by Ali Abdal, who's my favorite teacher on Skillshare, by the way, on how to be happier. I took this class and I would really recommend it. I think I gained a lot of clarity, and it's just a great introduction to stoicism in general. This class may actually change the way you view things. And you know what the best part is? The first 1,000 people who join Skillshare using my special link down in the description will get a whole month trial for free. So I don't see why you wouldn't take this opportunity to go learn something new or get a new outlook on life. Trust me, you have literally everything to gain by joining Skillshare. You won't regret it. Okay, the ad is over now. Let's start our discussion. So if you've been anywhere near the internet, you may know that this new show on Netflix has been all the rage recently. I am, of course, talking about the docuseries Dahmer. This show was released around mid-September. It has 10 episodes and it follows the story of Jeffrey Dahmer, who was a notorious serial killer, also known as the Milwaukee Monster, famous for getting away with 17 murders, and very famous for cannibalizing his victims. This series, being a docuseries, attempts to retell the horrors of Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes, and it largely focuses on how Jeffrey was able to so easily get away with his repeated murders for so long. This show does a great job at accurately depicting what actually happened. I mean, of course, there are aspects to it that have been exaggerated, and not all of it is 100% true, but as with most docuseries, there usually tends to be some creative liberties taken. But mostly, this is probably the most accurate adaptation of the tale of Jeffrey Dahmer yet, and there have been far too many adaptations of Jeffrey Dahmer's life at this point. Now, I have only just started watching the show. I haven't really had the chance to view it all because of how hectic and busy my life has been recently. But from what I've seen so far, I can tell you that I think that it's very well made. Evan Peters does a great job at portraying this disgusting man, and it's just a very riveting show. It's detailed and just a horrifying watch. That being said, there is a very big ethical debate surrounding this show and the commercialization of true crime in general, which is exactly what I'm going to be talking about now. Serial killers and true crime being commercialized and turned into entertainment isn't anything new. It's been done for years, and it's undeniable that there's a huge market for it because of our fascination with these terrifying real-life horror stories. People love getting scared for entertainment, and there's nothing more scary than things that actually happen in real life because there is a chance that it could happen to you. Ooh, spooky. And it's insane just learning about the most gruesome and wicked people out there. The most disgusting serial killers are the most intriguing. A twisted curiosity is formed when you want to find out what exactly drove these people to committing such vile acts. And this is why so many serial killers have become icons in pop culture. They've been cemented in our media, forever remembered, with their stories and actions being retold, readapted over and over again. But is it really ethical to make a profit off of these real traumatic events that happen to real people? Doesn't it strike you as wrong that we know everything about these horrible murderers, but we barely know anything about their victims? With the recent popularity of the show, this topic has once again been brought up for debate because now a whole generation of kids are learning about this man, and they are learning about him through a show. The biggest issue that I and many people have with the show is that many of the people who are affected by Jeffrey Dahmer's crimes are still alive. And since the show recreates almost every aspect of Dahmer's life in such detail, these people are being forced to relive their trauma, especially since everyone on the internet is currently talking about this show, raving over it, fangirling over it, making memes and TikToks about it. Continuously retelling these events just re-traumatizes the victims who are still alive. And I guess it would have been more ethical if the creators of the show reached out to the families of the victims before starting the production. It would have been better if they had warned them or offered them a percentage of the profits that they made, but this wasn't done. Rita Isbell, whose brother was a victim of Jeffrey Dahmer, came out expressing her anger towards the show for completely recreating her courtroom appearance where she lashes out at Jeffrey. If you watch the show, you know what scene I'm talking about, and it's absolutely heartbreaking. It's even more heartbreaking when you find out that this scene actually did happen in real life, and we are witnessing this woman's raw pain being acted out once again. It's actually insane that no one decided to reach out to this woman or anyone else portrayed in the show to warn them that they were going to be reenacted. And furthermore, everyone in the show is very adamant to tell you about how this show isn't from the point of view of Jeffrey Dahmer, and it's more about the victims.
You know, we had one rule going into this from Ryan, that it would never be told from Dahmer's point of view.
In any interview with the cast members and in the actual description of what the show is about, you can see this rhetoric being stated over and over again. But for me, the show really doesn't make that clear. I only watched the first couple of episodes, but all of the episodes I've watched so far very clearly focus on Jeffrey Dahmer as the main character. It goes into his childhood, it goes into his family, it goes into his issues and what led him to committing his crimes. So when they claim that this isn't a show that focuses on Jeffrey Dahmer, but rather on his victims, I really don't see what they mean. Why is the name of the show Dahmer then? Why dedicate so many episodes to his backstory? If the show isn't supposed to be in the point of view of Jeffrey Dahmer, why is there such a large influx of people coming out claiming that they felt bad for Jeffrey after watching the show? For example, this woman.
Serious question. Is there something wrong with me because I high-key felt bad for Jeffrey Dahmer? Okay, so first things first, that documentary was like 12 at that time, like that shit was fire. Coming from someone that likes like true crime, right? Now, do I go and I was like, damn, like, this shit's crazy, that's so sad, all the murders and everything. Like, he did it, like, I was like, damn, this shit's not scary, but that's so sad. But I was like, do I go and I watch true crime. But bitch, When they killed Jeffrey, I was like literally teary-eyed. Like I got teary-eyed. I'm looking at my boyfriend like, oh my god, like please don't tell me they kill him. Don't tell me he died. I'm looking at myself like, bitch, what? Like what? For some reason, like everything that he did that was like absolutely horrifying, just like out the window. I'm literally like looking to my side and I'm like, please tell me they don't kill him.
So in this TikTok, this woman is rooting for a murderous cannibal. She expresses her feelings of feeling bad for one of the most evil human beings in history. Now, I'm not gonna hate on this woman because she realizes herself that she probably shouldn't be feeling this way towards Jeffrey, which is why she made this hella insensitive TikTok in the first place, asking if there's something wrong with her for feeling bad for him. But she isn't the only person who reacted this way towards the show. Many people, after watching the show, empathized with Jeffrey, and while it is insensitive to show compassion for this man who literally killed and tortured so many people, I wouldn't say it's unnatural to do so. I think it's more the fault of the show itself than the people who watched it, because despite the claims of the show focusing on Dahmer's victims, the protagonist in the series is Dahmer himself. He's the main character, he is the one being focused on, and the show very clearly points out his traumas, the abuse and neglect he faced from his parents, and his struggle accepting his sexuality. And the series shows how all of those things led him to becoming a serial killer. So of course many people would feel bad for the guy. Of course it's wrong to do so. We aren't supposed to feel bad for this guy. And it saddens me to see many people saying things like, what he did was wrong, but he wouldn't have done it if he was raised better or raised differently. Well, duh. Of course he wouldn't have been a murderer if he was raised properly. I would also have been a completely different person if I was raised in a completely different way. That's just how life works. What you should take away from the portrayal of Dahmer's past is that no one just does evil things for no reason. There's always a reason behind the way in which people act. That doesn't mean we should show compassion towards these people or forgive them. It should teach us a lesson on how to prevent horrors like this from happening ever again. Just remember that we should feel compassionate towards the people he has killed, towards the families he has forever broken apart and traumatized, not towards him. Because yes, if he was treated differently, he would have turned out different. But he wasn't, and he still did what he did. We can understand his situation without being empathetic towards it. Or you know, everyone is quick to cancel YouTubers for doing crappy things, but murderers are just misunderstood and not raised properly. Come on guys, have the same energy. And many people in this generation romanticize serial killers because they view them as these complicated, wounded individuals, which is true. They are complicated and they are wounded, but that isn't something we should admire about them. We should always remember that their actions will never be justifiable or forgivable, and it's not their intelligence that helped them get away with these crimes, but rather the neglect of the justice system. Jeffrey himself got away with so many murders because the police were just racist. They refused to listen to or care about Jeffrey's victims, who were mostly lower class minorities. Now I'm gonna react to some TikToks about Jeffrey Dahmer that I recently got on my For You page, because what's a Zezre video without some cringy TikToks?
Welcome to my home. Damn, it smells like cheek ass. Here's a drink. Drink up.
Not funny.
What the fuck?
Not funny.
What's the matter? Why aren't you drinking?
Really, nigga?
Not funny.
Here, sit down. What kind of music do you like? I fuck with Pop Smoke. My favorite.
This nigga gay.
This is not funny.
Are you hungry? I cooked you some pork chops.
Oh!
Not funny.
You wanna watch my favorite movie?
Sure.
Your heartbeat. It sounds so tasty.
What?
For when I eat it, I'm gonna eat your heart.
Not funny.
You know you can't escape, right? Now the real fun begins.
I mean, this is just not funny. I guess if you were like 5 years old in 2016 when sound effects were considered the pinnacle of humor, I guess it would be slightly funny. But who am I kidding? This is just above all else insulting. I'm actually concerned for this generation because this TikTok literally has over 600,000 likes. Like guys, come on, are you forgetting this man quite literally killed and cannibalized 17 people? This isn't a laughing matter. It's not even dark humor. It's just tone deaf and immature immature as hell. I wish this was the only joke TikTok about Jeffrey Dahmer. There's literally hundreds of them. This is just one example. I don't really even see the point in showing you guys each dumbass TikTok I saw about this because they're really all the same. They're all painfully unfunny. Some of them pretend to be pranks. Like, I saw one where there was a man who kind of looked like Jeffrey and a guy came up to him and was like, "Yo, you're Jeffrey Dahmer. I'm gonna call the cops on you." And the guy was like, "No, I'm not Jeffrey. I'm Jack." And everyone in the comments is like, "Ha, so funny. Ha. I'm 5 years old." Many of them are POVs, like POV Jeffrey Dahmer is your roommate, or POV Jeffrey Dahmer is your mother-in-law, and they all make these very unfunny jokes about Jeffrey being gay or him storing human remains in his fridge. I don't need to tell you why that's just disgusting to do. It's not funny, basically. And cut it out with the first trap edits of Jeffrey Dahmer in the show. I get that Evan Peters is a rather fine man, but he's playing a real-life cannibal serial killer. I don't get how people keep forgetting this. One last thing, many people, especially kids, are just finding out about who Jeffrey Dahmer is. But he's been infamous for a long time, especially in pop culture, which is why there are many song lyrics that reference him. Most famously, Dark Horse by Katy Perry or Cannibal by Kesha, and there are many more examples out there. But people are just starting to realize what these lyrics actually mean, and I think this is a good example of just how cemented serial killers are in our pop culture. My opinion on the use of Dahmer in songs is that it's just lazy lyric writing. Most of the time the lyrics try using eating someone's heart as a metaphor, and they're like, "Oh well, Jeffrey Dahmer ate hearts, so I guess I'm gonna use that in my song." But anyways, that's all I wanted to say about Jeffrey Dahmer. Moving on to the next topic.
But please don't make these look like a joke.
Okay, so this discussion isn't going to be as long as the one that I had about Jeffrey Dahmer, mainly because I think that the reaction towards the movie is entirely as it should be. I'm also not a movie critic. I like to focus more on how the audience reacts to what they're watching rather than the thing itself, because I'm not qualified to critique any pieces of film. I also haven't watched Blonde in its entirety either, but from the little that I did watch, I really didn't like it, and I'll get into why in a minute. So Blonde is a movie about Marilyn Monroe. I'm sure we all know who Marilyn is.
She's an icon, she's a legend, and she is the moment. Now come on now.
Apparently it's not an adaptation of Marilyn's life, which is confusing to say the least, because the movie doesn't really make it clear that it's supposed to be rather fictional. Apparently it's an adaptation of a novel, which is a fictional rendition of Marilyn Monroe's life, but I don't really know what the point of this movie was. Like, if it's supposed to be fictional, why would you include real life events that did actually happen to Marilyn along with pure fiction? Why would you recreate literal scenes from Marilyn's career and life perfectly if it isn't supposed to be entirely accurate? I just don't understand what the meaning of this movie was. It really doesn't distinguish the fiction from reality whatsoever. To me, it just seems like an overly dramatized tragedy which paints Marilyn as this poor victim of a woman who was continuously exploited and depressed all throughout her career. And I really find it disgusting just how many vile, detailed scenes there were of Marilyn just being sexually assaulted or abused. Why did they have to show that? It's just a very vulgar and insulting film, and all it does is sexualize Marilyn whilst making her seem like a damsel in distress. There's so many disgusting and unnecessary scenes, and from what I've heard, many of it isn't accurate whatsoever. So all the bad reviews that this film got were well deserved. I couldn't get through watching it, and I wouldn't recommend you to watch it either unless you're a sick-minded person who enjoys watching women getting abused. But yeah, that's all I really have to say about the movie. I told you it will be short, but many of the critiques and everything has already been said by like millions of people at this point, so I just thought I'd keep it sweet. So what can we take away from our little discussion today? Hollywood will continue capitalizing off of tragedies, making movies and shows that generate large profits from other people's pain, from humanity's worst events and mistakes. Many times it can become unethical to view such horrifying events as just a means means to make money. But as long as people keep consuming such media, it will continue getting made, and there's nothing we can really do about that. What we can do is react accordingly and appropriately to such media. I'm glad that so many people were quick to discuss just how disgusting of a movie Blonde was, and just how bad of a job it did at portraying the traumatic events that occurred in Marilyn's life. However, I am not impressed with how the public responded to Dahmer. So many people are forgetting that this isn't just a horror series for your own entertainment. It is something that did actually happen. So it's not anything to fangirl over. It's not anything to make crude jokes about. Please remember that true crime is called true for a reason. Yes, it can be very entertaining, but above all else, it actually happened. Please be respectful towards the victims. But anyways, that's all I have for today. Don't forget the first 1,000 people who join Skillshare using my special link in the description will get a whole month free trial. And don't forget to follow my social media. Let me know what you guys think of all this in the comment section below. I'm always excited to hear your thoughts, and I'll see you guys again next time. Bye!